Hey, beautiful people, we're back with another video. I'm Saria,
I'm Kara.
and if this is your first time to our channel, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on IG and TikTok at QueenConvos also. So let's get into this. Changing the programming. What are your thoughts on this, Kara?
Like having a clicker or a remote control. We call it a clicker here in New England. Change the programming, change the channel, tune in to where you want to be, to where you want to go. Knowing that you can do that you're able to do that. I was watching a movie with my daughter, Cars 3, and one car was kind of mentoring the other one. The one that was being mentored was a newbie to the racing community, and she had tried to do her first race, but she freaked out and got nervous and froze up. And so she ended up becoming a trainer of the other cars because she just felt like she couldn't do it when it came down to it. And she had asked the car that she was training, that was actually one of her idols. She said, "How did you know that you could do it? Like when you got on the road, when you got on the raceway, how did you know that you could do it?" And he said to her, "Well, I guess I just never thought that I couldn't." And I was like, wow, that is so wise coming from a kid's movie. But it really puts it in perspective of this car. He never thought that he couldn't. He always thought that he was good enough. He always thought that he could do anything that he wanted or that he put his mind to or that brought him joy. And I think that a lot of people struggle with that, feeling not good enough, feeling like you're going to mess something up or do it wrong or not perfectly. And that holds you back. It holds you back from making decisions. It holds you back from really fulfilling your joy. And I think that if we can reprogram our minds to believe that we are good enough, that we can do anything. And I think a way to, this is what I want you to do, is ask yourself, put yourself in that car's shoes, in that car's tires. Well, I never thought that I couldn't. Have that attitude, have that mindset. Maybe like if you're thinking of something, you're like, I could never do that. And then maybe like ask yourself, be like, well, why can't I? I never thought that I couldn't. I can do that. I think that's where we have to, the people like that don't feel good enough, I think we have to come at it from that angle. And the more and more you tell yourself, because reprogramming your mind is just removing those old self-talk thoughts and replacing them with new ones. And we've talked about this before, but that's kind of like the opposite of what one car was saying and the other was saying. So that's like when we talk about opposites, replacing that old thought of, well, I'm not good enough with, well, I never thought that I couldn't do it. Like, obviously. So I think that is the technique. It's not really a technique though, because it's like, it's your new way of thinking. It's your new life. Like you're reprogramming yourself. So it's not like a diet, like when you go on a diet and you're like, I'm going to eat good because I need to lose weight. like everyone's doing at the beginning of the year, and they've probably given up by now, because it's a diet. And it's like a diet I like to call, I actually changed the way um I I started doing this new way of eating. And instead of calling it a diet, I was calling it a way of life. It's my way of life now, because even though I may not, because I knew that if I looked at it as a diet, I would like flip flop, and I'd go and I'd lose a bunch of weight. And then I would be depriving myself the whole time of all these foods that I could not eat because they were going to make me fat. And then you, like, when you're done with that and you lose the weight, you're like, okay, I can ease up a little bit. And then you just eat more sugar and salt and chips and everything. And you're like, well, I can do it because I'm skinny. And then all of a sudden the weight just comes on, it seems like overnight. And you're like, whoa, how did that happen? And you're like, then you're kicking yourself because you're like, I did all of that work and now I'm here again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like diet as a thing. I find when you're trying to better your life, when you're trying to do something and reprogram yourself, I like to look at it as a lifestyle change. It is now your new way of life. And meaning that there's consistency with it, and that it's just something that you're going to form a habit in, and it's going to come natural to you. And so I have been on my lifestyle change food thing for over 2 years now, and I've kept the weight off, and I've been consistent, and I don't even think about ever, like, I'm not tempted, but when I am wanting something that is not in what I normally would eat, I eat it, and I don't think that it's going to make me fat. Like, I just eat it, and I don't say, well, it's going to make me gain 10 pounds and I'm just going to have to starve myself for the next week. Like, no, I don't do that. I changed the way I looked at food. And I think that's a really good example, actually, of this whole topic, of what I actually did. When people ask, well, how do you know what you're talking about? Like, show me. Well, there it is. I just showed you. Like, this is a success story, if you will. It has, my mind has been reprogrammed. And it's not like, it doesn't have to be hard. It actually started with me making a decision. See our previous video. And I think I was like laser focused on the end goal. I was sick of the way that things were going. And I think I used that to like propel me into the willpower, like that gave me the willpower, if you will, to keep going. And then it ended up just becoming a habit. And then I started seeing, because I didn't see results right away. But then when I did, I was at that point so used to meal prepping and exercising. And then I was like feeling really good. And I was like, I just don't want this to end, And it wasn't like an inconvenience anymore. I was able to work it into my life to where because I was prioritizing myself, and I was like actually doing something for myself, not just to look good. I had just had a baby, and she was like moving a lot more, and like I'd have to bend over and pick her up and get up, get down, get up, get down, running all over the place. And I was starting to get like back pain and like my knees, and I'm like, I can't keep going like this. I want to be able to interact with her. I want to be able to, and then I'm like, well, I want to be healthy for her. I don't want to be in pain all the time. I don't want to, so I think that kind of helped too. But I had made that decision, like she was my why I did that. And I think you have to find your why. Like, why? I think you can use your why in getting that willpower to reprogram yourself. It'll, when you keep that why, like that underlying, it'll propel you into changing your habit to keeping it. And then it'll just become natural and automatic, and it won't be hard. And it just flows just like breathing, just like blinking. It's just the way it is. This is your life, and it's awesome. So I hope you all can understand what I just blabbed about and figure out your why and how to go about reprogramming yourself to better your life.
So I think as far as changing the programming, a lot of the programming you have, I think it stems from your childhood and your past experiences. Sometimes the words, I'm really big on words. So I guess my perspective on this topic is really going to come from words. Words have a lot of meaning, and you really have to watch the words that you speak over yourself and the words that people speak over you. Because when you continue to hear negative words being spoken over you, or you being called names, or that you can't do something, that roots in your spirit. And that becomes your programming. Just like Kara was saying with that movie Cars, the car said, what did he say? I never thought that I couldn't do it, because that hadn't been
How
spoken.
did you know you could?
Okay. And then he said, what did he say?
And then he said, I never thought that I couldn't.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have someone telling you you can't do such and such, or, you can't do this or that, and you've heard that for so long, or maybe mentally you're just not strong enough to hear something like that and just push it away from you, that roots in your spirit. And then that becomes your programming. So you start really adopting that belief. I can't do this. I remember in middle school, there were these girls, and they would always say they had gotten something wrong in class. I'm so stupid, or you're so dumb. And they were friends. They'd be laughing when they were saying that. But it's like, that's not funny. You really have to watch the words that you say, because after you keep hearing that over and over, you keep saying, I'm so stupid, or I can never do anything right. That becomes your belief. You're programming yourself with the words that you say over yourself and the words that you allow others to speak over you. So that's the other thing. When people say certain things to you, if it's not right and it's not aligned with the programming that you're going after, you correct them. Tell them, I don't receive that. And if they get an attitude about it, like, so what? Like, you have to protect your own programming. Your brain is a computer. It really is. And what your programming is, that determines your thoughts, and your thoughts determine your actions, beliefs, and behaviors. So you really have to watch what you say over yourself and what other people say about you. If you constantly have someone saying, you're so smart, like I grew up in the household, like I was always told I was very intelligent. I was always pushed forward to like do the next thing. I was always, even in school, it's like, you're so smart. Like, we're going to put you in the talented and gifted program. So because I was always fed that was my programming. I'm going to be successful. I'm always going to be successful. I'm going to have money. I'm going to, go to school and get all these degrees. That was my programming from like a young age. However, if I had grown up in an environment that was opposite of that, then it would be like I would have to reprogram my thoughts to kind of recondition things that had been spoken over me and that had been fed to me when I was younger. So I think it's also important to realize when you have programming that you need to change. Sometimes it's a result of something, an incident that it's happened, like maybe I don't know, maybe you've had a couple failed relationships. So now your programming is, I'm not good at relationships. You have to work on reprogramming that, because that's not true. Those relationships may not have worked out in that season, but that doesn't mean that you're the problem. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not good at relationships. It was those situations. Or, you know, there are a number of scenarios I could go over, but I think it's really important to sit down and think about your beliefs, your programming, your mindset, and what you truly think about yourself in certain situations. And if it's not positive, if it's not something, if your programming is not something that is going to repel you to get to the end goal that you're trying to get to, you really need to take steps on changing that programming. And that starts with how you're speaking over yourself. Start scripting and journaling the way that you want things to be. Start putting yourself in situations where you're around that which you're trying to go after. So you start feeling a taste of getting a taste, not feeling a taste, getting a taste of what's to come. And when you start doing little things like that, you slowly start to shift the programming. And when you keep doing that, those thoughts and feelings, they start becoming a permanent part of your mindset. And that's how you change your programming. So
I think that, yeah, I probably got off on a tangent.
Oh no, that's fine. I think there's multiple ways of looking at things. Mine is just, I'm very big on words and what you say and what you allow people to speak over you.
Right. So. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that, like, I had a great childhood, but I still have issues. But it doesn't mean that, like, my parents are bad. Like, my parents were awesome. My grandparents were awesome. But there were a lot of things that, even though I was told I'm great and all this stuff, I was also taught to basically settle and do the safe thing. And I think do the safe thing, the secure thing. So that kind of, in a way, like, kills that dreaming, that or that feeling that you are good enough, because you have to settle. If it comes down to it, you have to have a backup plan. And then what ends up happening is you focus on the backup plan because you lose that drive to go for your top, your plan A, and you get stuck in that plan B. And you know, they didn't do it out of trying to, you know, sabotage me. I know that they're doing it out of love and protection. But if there's someone out there like me that had a great childhood but is still running into things, that, because you could be like when I first started this whole journey, I was like, they're like, well, you have to go back into your childhood. And I'm like, but I had a great childhood. Like, it's not that. It's not that. Mm-hmm. And so, but once I started really going into it, I was like, oh, that's why. Even though it was very loving, there were certain things that were said to me to give me these beliefs that I saw that were holding me back. It was done out of love, and parents, you know, it's tough, because when you're a parent, you think you're doing the right thing. And sometimes when you're trying to protect people, you're holding them back, projecting their own fears onto you. And it's okay. You know, I'm okay with it now, but I'm able to see what it is and what it was. And now that I know, I can affirm against it.
Right.
And that's why words are so powerful. Because you could be hearing something, like say you're in like a bullying situation and somebody just like constantly, you don't have to accept that. And if you're too scared to like stand up to them at that point in time and say something, you just like in your head, like, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Like literally repel it, like from getting into your brain. Put up that firewall, that software firewall, and don't, you know, because sometimes there are people in the situations where they're just too scared to do something, and you can't stand up to them and be like, no. I mean, if you can, that's awesome. But if you can't, then you just like sit there and in your head tell yourself, that's not true. That's not true. I am great. I am good enough. I can do anything I want. I am not that. I am not that. I am this. I am that. You know, whatever you want to be. So that will help with the programming, because what those bullies or, you know, whoever abusers are saying these things to you, you have to know that it's not true.
Right. Right. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you would like your topic featured in one of our future videos, comment below or send us a DM. Make sure to follow us on IG and TikTok at QueenConvos, and we'll see you in the next video.
Stay classy
and sassy.